Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Epang Matulweni, and I come from the Northern Cape Provincial Legislature. Mr. Bundi, I've got basically 3 questions. The first one is with regard to your electoral system. I heard you saying that you are using the presidential system, and I think it's linked to the constituency system. Last year, September, the Northern Cape Legislature received a delegation from the county state of Laikipia. And from the lessons learned, they informed us that today, for them, the constituency system promotes public participation. From what you've heard here, how can it advantage South Africa as a system, as an electoral system, the constituency system versus the PR system in South Africa? The second one, I haven't heard you mentioning the lawmaking process between the National Assembly and the county assemblies. How do you interact in terms of lawmaking at that particular level? My last question, sir, is vetting. The vetting of parliamentarians in Kenya, how has it assisted issues of good governance? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sir, are you covered? Okay. There is a hand. You may proceed. No.
Thank you. My name is Mapolisa. I'm from Eastern Cape. I want to thank the presenter for informative presentation. I'm just interested on just 3 things maybe. I'll say political undercurrencies on the governance of parliament. For example, put it clearly, what's the influence of the political parties on the issues of running parliament, governance, cadre, deployment? I know those are issues that have been criminalized in our country, for example, yet we know that other countries are quite open about it. But we'd like to learn from our neighboring states. What's the attitude around cadre deployment? The second question, given the genesis of the parliament in Kenya, you probably heard from the previous presenter about the supremacy of executive. What's the relationship then between the executive arm and legislative arm of government? Are they equal? Is it respected? Is it taken seriously by the executive, especially when it comes to issues of oversight? The third question, you've touched the issue of budget. I know you were talking about budget office, but I'm interested, how does then the parliament gets its allocation of budget? What are the processes? What are the mechanisms? For example, in our country, we came up with the new act, Financial Management of Parliament Act, with the attitude of getting a top slicing of budget, but I know it's not really happening. But how does the parliament get its allocation? I'm afraid to ask the fourth question, Chairperson. But I can, if you, next round, you give me the permission.
You are afraid to ask? The fourth question.
How many program directors do we have here? I'm given permission to ask a question. The last question, Chairperson, the presenter touched on Auditor General. I'm asking this in the context of our own politics. The institutions supporting democracy, the Auditor General, public protectors, and other institutions of that nature. The accountability is getting stolen from parliaments or legislatures by these institutions, literally taking over accountability. We'd like to check from our own African states? How do they relate with the institutions supporting democracy, especially on accountability? Thank you.
That's good. Last question so that Bundi can respond.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Regina Mhlomi. I'm from the National Parliament. I just wanted to find out from Mr. Bundi what mechanism is used in the Kenyan Parliament to amend the budget. Do you have a process where joint committees look at the budget allocations and are able to move the funds from for budgets of particular departments to other? We have just established a budget office in our parliament, and it would be interesting to hear how the parliament arrives at an amended budget. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Bundi, sir.
Thank you. The last question is easier, and I think it's combined with another one. That is the budget. The budget is governed by the proposal submitted by the executive to parliament. Because it is government that knows how much is in the kitty. When they submit to parliament, the portfolio committee sit to look at what is available for them. And even as they sit to look at what's available for them, they invite fiscal analysts and experts from the budget office to come and assist the committees to look at the available resources for them. The committees make their recommendations or the ministries that are assigned to them. And once they have made the recommendations are considered by the budget committee of parliament. So the budget committee finally is the one that makes the recommendations to the National Assembly for approval. The departmental committees will have looked at the overall allocation, and through public hearing and other consultations, look at whether the resources proposed is in tandem with what they are hearing from the public and other experts. So it is from the budget, from the departmental committee, the views of the technical officers and the views from the experts and the public, that they are able to shift some of the resources from certain heads to others. Once they have done that, it is taken to the budget committee. Budget committee looks at the entire economy, because the committees will be very keen on their own little things there, their own ministries. But the budget committee looks at the overall picture in government, and in their consultation, we invite the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and other officers from the Treasury to discuss and see how best. Not that the Treasury will be making a decision, no. The committee will be making a decision, but they will invite views from the executive, from the Treasury particularly, on the ceilings and whether they can adjust some of the ceilings depending on the push and demand by the public and other stakeholders. So the shifting of the budget is proposed at the committee, at the sector committees that are dealing with the ministries, and then analyzed once again so that we don't go wrong by the budget committee, and the budget committee then will make the report to the House. Finally, it is the House that will make the decision. So the amendments will be proposed by the departmental committee. They will push them forward to the budget committee, and then budget committee then will make the final decisions, and the House will then pass the budget as agreed at committee and by the House now. So how does Parliament get its budget? The Parliamentary Service Commission will prepare their proposals. In preparing their proposals, they are guided by the ceilings established by the executive. Sometimes the ceilings are very prohibitive. They may not be as per the requirements and for the programs of the Assembly. And therefore, on occasions, the parliamentary budget has in one or two cases exceeded the ceilings set by the executive. And this has brought a bit of a problem, but all along the financial year, the Service Commission and the Treasury would discuss and agree where the meeting point is. Because again, also Parliament cannot take, because Parliament has power also, but cannot take all the money and leave the other systems not working. But to some extent, they are treated more favorably than the other ministries. And this they do through supplementary estimates and also a little bit of pressure. So compared to other ministries, Parliament has a bigger advantage on the allocation of resources because they are able to push a little bit more than the rest. Now, the electoral system. 2013 was the first time we applied the new constitution in our electoral process. That was the toughest election we have ever had because we had to do election for the president, the Senate, the county women rep, governor, and one rep. That was the toughest election we have ever had because we had too many offices to do in one day. President, member of parliament, senator, governor, county women rep, and county ward. Now, in addition to constituency positions, we also have borrowed a bit from the South African style. We also have party lists. And so there is a proportion that is also, that get to parliament through the party lists, which you are all familiar to. Most of it we borrowed from here. I don't know whether you want me to say anything more about that one. I think that's fine. The other bit is lawmaking between national and county assemblies. The Constitution provides for two levels of government, that's the national government and the county government. In the Constitution, there is a schedule showing the various mandates and functions. So the county assemblies know their functions from that schedule, Schedule 4. And therefore, they would not encroach of the national government as the functions are very, very specified. But like I was saying again, this is a new system, and conflicts once in a while are not unheard of. This is what we are exercising. But reading the Constitution, it is very clear what national does, what county does. National obviously will do with foreign affairs, finance, security, and such like. Then counties will deal with the markets, town planning, things that are really local to that constituency, to that county. The other question was whether vetting of parliamentarians has helped. There has been a bit of improvement. There was a bit of improvement because it was not possible in the past to have a proper basis to say a member should not be nominated to vie for a parliamentary seat. But now it is very clear. There are specific bodies that must give a certificate before a member can be cleared by the Electoral Commission to vie for any position. So to some extent, this has helped a great deal on various crimes like failing to pay taxes, having corruption offenses, and also failing to adhere to certain laws. For instance, having debts with the Inter-University Council, where you are given a loan and you have not repaid, which is for the benefit of their citizens. So to a great extent, it has helped in getting people who are a little more transparent into positions. The other issue was to do with the political parties and their influence in appointments and deployment. Well, the presidential system gives the parties an upper hand in the running of the system because they are represented in the assembly by a window majority, and therefore is in the informal sessions with the leadership of government part of the decision-making process. And for top positions, it is the parties have influence. The parties have influence, but obviously the other parties that are not in government will be watching very keenly, and they will always provide a serious oversight on who is being appointed. So it is true, yes, parties have influence. On the issue of executive and legislature, obviously the executive over time has always been empowered by legislation. So as we reform parliaments, we are reducing the power of the executive. And therefore there cannot be a lot of friendship here. A strong legislature denies the executive the unintermittent power which they used to have in the past. So you can see the uneasy relationship. But there is no choice since it is constitutional. And this is a constitution made by the people. So the relationship is uneasy. But it is respected. And I think that's all I was asked to answer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bundi. Colleagues, I don't notice any hands. And I just want to follow on what my colleague has just said, and I don't think this should transpire during the commissions. Normally we say, let sleeping dogs lie. We are here to awaken those dogs. We need to discuss the undiscussables. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to frame our toolkits. And we will not be able to mitigate our contemporary challenges as technocrats. So we have to discuss these issues. Coming to another hand, is it a follow-up? Okay. Oh, I've noticed two hands. Let's do so. Ndalino Nyani, you may proceed. I forgot about it. Sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Chair. My name is Benny from Parliament.
You sound very inaudible.
My name is Benny. My name is Benny from Parliament. I just want to find out from Mr. Bundi, what mechanism does the Kenyan Parliament use to hold the executive to account? Because of, if not mistaken, I heard you saying that with the advent of the new constitution, you then moved to a presidential system, which in in a way, the method that you used previously under the parliamentary system, which was questions, you didn't use anymore. So I just want to find out what mechanisms are you currently use. And the other question relates to the budget office. First, just to find out what is the staff complement of your budget office, but also, haven't the Kenyan Parliament experienced some challenges, particularly following from what you just said, that the executive most of the time as the people who will set the target and the objectives of what they want to achieve, and therefore they'll have a better sense as to how much will that cost and allocate it to a particular department, and to come to Parliament and Parliament to tell them that, look, according to our view, this department's budget needs to be either reduced by this amount, and budget Y needs, or department Y's budget needs to be increased. Doesn't that create a tension, or having to experience a tension when Parliament has to exercise that option that it has through the budget office? Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate this very much. Thank you. I just want to find out the kind of relationship the Clerk of Parliament has with the leadership, the political leadership in Parliament. Are you seen as an expert in your area and therefore called upon to help lead, or are you looked down upon? I don't know how to put this in English. I wish I could ask the question in Sesotho. But my interest is whether you are a separate entity that is seen as an impediment more than somebody who can enhance the political leadership in Parliament. Thanks.
Clerk of Parliament. In Kenya, the Clerk of Parliament and other staff of Parliament have always been civil servants. In fact, so far we have had no experience of an officer of Parliament who either participated in elective politics or was in elective politics and came back to serve as an officer of Parliament. And so therefore, the officers are looked at as very independent of the political parties. And even when the parties quarrel, particularly in the House and in committees, it is a clerk really who is the arbiter. And I have not experienced a situation where they would consider the clerk to be on any side of the divide. So we have enjoyed a lot of cordial relationship. It has not occurred to me that there is any party which has said that the clerk is partisan. That I have not experienced, but I think it's also because of the recruitment process. The Clerk of Parliament is appointed by the Parliamentary Service Commission competitively, where external bodies are also involved in the recruitment process. After the Parliamentary Service Commission has agreed on the officer to become clerk, the name of the clerk is also debated in the House for adoption. So the House in entirety adopts the officer to be appointed clerk. So by resolution. So you are a professional, yes, but the House also has accepted you and given you mandate to manage the affairs of that House. That has given us safety, and I have not experienced any difficulty, even during the time but this was not the same cause, of course, after forming the commission, this has been the case, and we have not faced any difficulties whatsoever in this one. The staff complement of the budget office has been expanding steadily because the responsibilities in the single chamber system were much less than they are today. The Constitution gave much more responsibility, and therefore we have increased the complement by, we are now 30 in total. But we started 3, and we still moved on and on and on, because again, we also didn't want to dump people who are not able to do proper fiscal analysts and research. So we have a staff complement of 30, and they are doing a good job. We don't want to give more than that, because also we don't want to overcrowd the office. We want only the professional economists and fiscal analysts to do the job. The executive will provide the ceilings. The committees will stand at the ceilings. They will invite the officers, experts from those ministries and departments to defend the ceilings, to defend the allocations. And the committee will also convince them on why it is necessary to shift this to the other one, but maintaining the ceiling that was provided, because we cannot exceed the ceiling, since that is a basket that we're using. So sometimes the end result is not always very pleasant to the proposer, because you propose this, you go back with a different one. Obviously, you cannot feel very excited. But now, we are doing it for the 3rd time, and therefore, the principal secretaries and other officers are used to this, are used to coming and going back with a different budget, with a budget at a different structure, which is understood, because we are together anyway. And where there has been unnecessary interference with what was proposed, then this is sometimes addressed during the supplementary estimates. So if there is any situation where we have not agreed or we have interfered with the budget very seriously, then during the supplementaries we'll be able to change this and help to improve the budget. Question time. The presentation I made has details on how we do this question time now. It's in the website, so you can look at it later on. But since the cabinet secretaries are not members of parliament, we are looking for a provision to enable them come back, because it was by popular demand. It was becoming difficult for parliament to continue without ministers appearing before them. We are trying the method of chairs of committees responding to statements by members. It didn't work, because members also said they cannot have an issue answered by the chair who sits with them, who is also on backbencher in any sense. So a provision was done where the cabinet secretaries would appear before a committee of the whole. We said, creatively, that while members of the cabinet cannot sit in the assembly, but members of the cabinet sit in committees of the assembly. So we transformed, we transformed the committees to one committee of the whole, and had the cabinet secretary appearing there. This brought a big uproar. And so we retreated a bit, and now said, use the old provision where the cabinet secretaries would appear before departmental committees. But then, on that day, we stopped all businesses from other committees, so that every member again will now appear before the cabinet secretary. And this is what is going on now. So, ministers appear before committees, but committees have been creatively relaxed in such a way that a cabinet secretary would respond to issues before the entire House, but on national matters. So there is accountability, yes, as we used to do in the parliamentary, but in a different manner. Accountability, obviously, like I said again, is done through the vetting process, which I said is extremely popular. And we have had several presidential nominees dropped in the vetting stage. This is accountability. And also, the Assembly, the House has power to give a vote of no confidence. We were struggling with one the other day. There was so much pressure, but it was dropped in the last minute. But that was a lesson to the other cabinet secretaries that you can easily be removed also from office. So accountability is going on quite well. Oversight of Parliament is stronger than it was in the past, and I think we are going on well.